is the University of Michigan.
Touchdown, Michigan!
And midcourt, extra pass.
And it goes for the win! The three-pointer by Jordan Poole! Down the sideline! Peoples-Jones! Touchdown, Wolverine!
All right, welcome back to Blue by 90. We are here with Matt Burns of ESPN and the 3-Point Pod. Matt, how you doing out there?
Doing well, guys. Appreciate you coming on. We've had Jack on a couple times, giving us some of his Michigan football expertise. So yeah, we appreciate everything Jack's done for our podcast, but I'm excited to chat with you guys, especially after that win last Saturday.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your podcast, who you got on over there, and what's going on lately on there.
Yeah, so like you said, it's called the 3-Point Podcast. And just to give you the quick thumbnail sketch, the three of us were from the same hometown in Michigan, Corona. So just kind of up the road from Ann Arbor, over by East Lane.
Up the road.
Yeah, you guys are gonna. Well, Corona's actually up the road from Ann Arbor.
Not down the road.
Mel Tucker didn't really understand the whole up the road thing, but we'll talk about that later. But yeah, so we all grew up in the same hometown, went to the same high school. The thing is like the hook, I guess, is 3 generations. So the older guy, he's like 63, Ted. I'm the middle guy, I'm 35. And then Jared, the younger guy, just graduated college. So, we all grew up in the same hometown. We're all Michigan fans, the 3 generations. It makes it kind of fun when we get into sports debates, movies, even politics sometimes, but music and stuff like that, where Ted can bring stuff from like the 60s, and then I bring kind of like the 90s. I'm like the middle guy, and then Jared brings that Gen Z skepticism, like it's fun though, we have fun with it, and it's really laid back. Jack knows about that, so it's a good time.
Well, we're happy to have you on. And then tell us about your day job here too. You work for ESPN and the SEC network as well?
I do, yeah. So I've been here for about 10 years, ESPN altogether 10 years. I went out to Bristol, Connecticut, where the headquarters are. I worked there for about 5 years, and then I came down here where I am now in Charlotte, North Carolina, where the headquarters of the SEC network are. And then, yeah, I've been here for about 5 years. So altogether, 10 years at ESPN. Behind the scenes stuff, video editing. I run like the replay operation for games. I produce live games on our networks. I work on the Paul Feinbaum show a lot. So I get to get bombarded with Harbaugh hate and love. So sometimes I got to like tune it down and just tune out everything everyone's saying on the Feinbaum show. But it's a cool job. I mean, I get paid to watch and talk about sports, so can't complain.
All right. I mean, we have to just go in and ask about Feinbaum right away then, because he is the most epic Michigan hater of all time. And most of his stuff is pretty warranted, but he goes over the top with it. Is he like that all the time? I think I've heard you say he's not really that much. Is he putting on a show? Is he that much in the SEC? Give us a little back of the scenes insight on it.
I mean, he definitely is all in on the SEC. I mean, he's an SEC guy, and he started making his bread down in Birmingham, down in Alabama. So, I mean, initially, yes, and he's a Tennessee grad. So he is all in on the SEC, rightfully so. I mean, he's made his career talking and reporting on the SEC, but in the sense of like a Skip Bayless or, some of those guys, he knows what's going to get the clicks. He knows what's going to get all the attention. When he says something about Harbaugh, it's going right to social media, it's going right on SportsCenter or whatever, and everyone's talking about it. So he knows what's going to get people riled up, especially his followers, because most of his followers are diehard SEC people. So, off the air, like behind the scenes, he has said multiple times that he respects Jim Harbaugh, thinks Jim Harbaugh is a great coach, but as everyone knows, says that he can't beat Ohio State. He can't win that game. So, I mean, like you said, some of the criticism is justified. So, I think he just panders to his fan base because he knows, like, if he can just say something about Jim Harbaugh, or he can go on Get Up or something like that and say Jim Harbaugh is the most overrated coach in all of football, boom, social media and Twitter is going to start blowing up. So he's a good dude, though.
Have you hung out with him at all outside of work?
No, he does not. He's a nice guy in the office, but he is probably as like, I'm not trying to say anything bad about the guy. He's as socially awkward as they come. I mean, super nice, super professional, friendly, but he would not be one to go out for after work drinks. We'll say it that way.
I mean, you can see that, but it is funny to see him. I mean, I think the Michigan fan base has to start going at him for his Tennessee alumnus, right? Tennessee's been in the same boat or worse, so the Michigan fan base has got to come back at him somehow for that. So.
I mean, and they have. I mean, actually today there were a couple callers that were going in on him, but that's one thing. I mean, I know Michigan people and people who don't listen to the Feinbaum show, all they see are those headlines. And, and I'm not trying to be like a company man or whatever like that, but he actually is like, he's pretty grounded. He will rip someone when it's justified or, whatever. When Saban loses a game, he'll be the first one to say that Saban blew it. And so he's the first one to say that Jeremy Pruitt just got an extension. And he was the first one to say, like, what are they giving him an extension for? Like, this guy hasn't done anything. So like, to your point, what you're saying, if say Tennessee goes on a run, he'll probably be the biggest fan in the world, but he'll criticize when it's warranted. And that's one thing. That's why he has the following that he does.
Yeah. I mean, he is very good at what he does. That's for sure. He knows what he's doing. It's the same. I don't want to put him on the Skip Bayless and Stephen A. pedestal.
No.
He's not to that point where he's coming up with ridiculous takes just to get clicks. Everything he says is usually pretty warranted, but the Michigan fan base is very easy to trigger. Let's be honest. It's incredibly easy to trigger. So he doesn't have to say much to get the Michigan fans riled up, and that's myself included right there. I get triggered every time I see some headline from Feinbaum, and I'm like, all right, shut the fuck up, okay? So, yeah, I mean, it's obviously very easy. But let's bring it up to the Big Ten here a little bit. Obviously, after 1 week, there's been a lot of news just from the games. And now in the past few days, Wisconsin is the big name or the big news going around that they have paused activities for 7 days. And Graham Mertz, and as well as their backup quarterback, which is technically their third string quarterback because of Jack Cohn, have tested positive for COVID. Paul Chryst tested positive for COVID, and now that game this week versus Nebraska has been canceled. So what do you guys think of this? Should they have tried to play? My real big question is, and this is, I saw Huskers fans all over social media. Should this be a forfeit for Wisconsin because of what's going on with them? Or should it just be no game played, no blood, anything like that? Matt, start us off.
Yeah, I guess personally, I like the no contest thing. I mean, I understand if it's like Wisconsin was the team that went out and broke the quarantine protocols, then they should be penalized. But, we don't really know, at least yet, like where these positive cases came from. So I wouldn't want to give Nebraska a win without even going out there to play. So, right. The Big Ten's already playing less games than the SEC and the ACC. And some of these other conferences, the Pac-12 is going to be way behind. They're starting like in 6 months or whatever. So I'm fine. So, like, first of all, I'm fine with the no contest. Don't play the game, play it safe. The Big Ten did this to themselves, setting up the schedule with no bye weeks. So no contest, I'm fine with that. The biggest question to me is, where did these positive cases come from? Like, they played Friday night and clearly were tested probably Friday morning, and everyone was cleared. And then apparently the first positive test for Mertz was Saturday. So it's kind of like, all right, so where did that positive test come from? Because
Illinois, right, has none, or they didn't have a breakout, did they?
I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen. As far as I've seen, nothing from Illinois. So that's where it's like, I mean, we know what it's like in college. Maybe they went back to Madison and went out to some parties, went to some bars or something like that. I don't know, but that's my question is like, where did these positive cases come from? Or were they hiding them on Friday night so they could play the game? That would be the one thing to me, but otherwise I'm fine with the no contest. The whole 21 days thing is a little strange, but no contest, get everything healthy, get it right, hopefully play next week.
Yeah, I think that's very well said, honestly. I mean, I think you're right that Nebraska doesn't deserve a win. I mean, I think they're clamoring for one because they know they wouldn't get it otherwise. So, I mean, yeah, they shouldn't be penalized. And that is a good question. Where the hell did all these cases come from if they had 0 on Friday? I didn't even think about that.
All right.
So I'm gonna totally disagree with you guys. Give Nebraska the win. If Wisconsin's gonna, be, I'm not gonna say they're responsible because we don't know what happened with Illinois, if it came from there or not. But if it's one team's fault the game is canceled, they should forfeit. The other team should get the win. And then also, Matt, back to your the 21-day quarantine or sit out, whatever it is. I don't understand that because the CDC recommends 14 days. So I don't understand the additional 7 days. I mean, it works out well for Michigan because if Graham Mertz isn't playing when Michigan plays them in football, that'll help Michigan out for sure. But I don't understand the 21 days unless it's supposed to be something to make it more strict for the teams to try to follow protocol as best as possible.
Yeah, my understanding was that the 21 days was because the Big Ten is the only organization I've heard of that is concerned about the heart inflammation issue. And so they have a lot of protocols in there about the players have to go through EKGs and get like heart MRIs and things like that. Well, as far as I know, maybe if somebody else knows differently, you don't have to do that in the ACC, the SEC, or the Big 12.
No, they're not doing that, at least what they've told the public anyway. And then the other part was, so it was like a 14-day to get all those testing, all that stuff that you're talking about. And then they wanted to give the players 7 days to get back to practice because you wouldn't want a guy all of a sudden getting cleared, hasn't touched the practice field in 3 weeks, and then he's going out to play a game. But as far as the timing, what you're talking about, Jack, it's kind of weird because it's 21 days. So he tested that first time on Saturday. So technically, like the 21 days would be on game day against Michigan. So
right.
He could actually, that would be his first start potentially.
And I've seen something floating around. It's hard to know what's rumors on Twitter and what's real because the Big Ten, even though they had 4 more weeks than every other conference to figure this out, they still haven't laid it out for everybody to know. But somebody said like he has to quarantine for 14 days but can practice for the last 7 but just can't play or something. Who knows what is actually going to happen. If I'm Michigan, I'm prepping for Graham Mertz, right? You're 100%. You have to prep for him. In Wisconsin, I mean, my God, that was one of the best debuts for a quarterback we've ever seen. He was unbelievable. Should have broke the record, but his fullback or running back dropped that pass to make for what was the 17 for 17 or something like that, and then you drop the pass. So I think that I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. Jack, I don't disagree with you that I don't know. I don't want to just gift Nebraska a win, but Nebraska has done everything that they can to play a game. So now they're penalized. That sucks for Nebraska.
Right. Like I think Kalen, you said you don't think that and correct me if I'm wrong, you don't think Wisconsin should be penalized because of, players on the team getting COVID. But then Justin, to your point, Nebraska shouldn't be penalized because Wisconsin tested positive, right? Like there should be, I think it should be a forfeit. I think it'll just make it more strict. It puts a loss on your record that makes it more of an impact, and maybe it makes people take it more seriously. Maybe Paul Chryst is wearing the mask over his nose like he should be. It could change things.
Yeah. No. I mean, there's definitely there's value to that because right, you'd be telling your players like, don't go out and to these parties or to these bars or whatever because we're gonna not only have a no contest, we're gonna get a loss.
Right.
We're going to lose the game. So, but I think, because Big Ten schedule is so shortened,
yeah,
they want as many games as possible. So like what you should be selling to your players anyway is we want maybe even a loss, at least go out there and play, because maybe you have a good loss. Sometimes there is like a good loss. So, I mean, if you only end up playing 5 games or 6 games, you're not going to be eligible for the college football playoff or a bowl game anyway. I think they've said all teams are going to be eligible for bowl games. But you know what I mean? Like if, say, Ohio State for some reason only ends up playing 4 or 5 games, I mean, are you going to be able to justify putting them in the playoffs? So,
I mean, they will, right?
Yeah, they will.
Yeah, they would.
So, I mean, I think it's more of like that you might only play 5 games. So if you're the coach, that you have to lay out your best resume in 5 games or whatever, right? Yeah. So you have to go out there and put the best thing you can, control what you can control kind of thing. So I just don't think that, anybody should really be penalized. It should just be a wash for everyone, right? Go out there, play the game, execute, right? I mean, let's think about it this way. 1 week of football has been played. Where would you rank Wisconsin based on what you saw? Would you
probably
put them in the top?
Ohio State, honestly? I don't know. It's tough to say.
I put him top 10. I mean, Graham Mertz looked like a legit freaking. I mean, he should be top 5 Heisman guy. I mean, he can run around a little bit. He can throw the ball a little bit. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
Man.
You just got to take everybody's resume as it is and make a decision, right? Yep. And so having these artificial wins or losses on that inflates the resume. So you have to just take what they've done and make a judgment call.
That's true. I mean, if it was Wisconsin versus Ohio State, like we wouldn't be saying, yeah, just give Ohio State the win.
Right. But also it comes down to the eye test at that point too, right? I mean, you see these undefeated Power 5 teams and, they're not getting in the playoff just because they're undefeated.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I guess that would come into play. Like if it did come down to that, the college football playoff, and Wisconsin was 7-0, and 2 of those games were forfeits.
Right.
And I'm sure they would take that into account. But I don't want to give anyone a win. Now, say a team against Michigan couldn't play, I'd probably be all right giving Michigan a win.
Perfect scenario.
Come December 12th and Ohio State has 10 positives, I'd take that W.
I'd be partying.
Broke the streak.
A party.
And 30 years from now, we'd tell everyone that we beat them 40-0. I mean,
exactly.
Hopefully, social media will be gone by then. Nobody will be able to look up any records. It'll be great.
Yeah. We talked about this a few weeks ago, or who knows? It could have been months ago. But we talked about the team that's going to probably win this season or succeed best in this season is the hot team because of a shortened season, because of what's going on. Michigan looks like a damn hot team, right? And so did Wisconsin, but now they're taking a step back. I would say Michigan looked like probably the hottest team around in the Big Ten as far as this past weekend goes. So I think that, things are, if we're right, which we always are, the hot team wins, Michigan's going to win, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's still like a ways away. We're at the end of October. So that December 12th, that's still a month and a half away. So I agree with you. I mean, an 8-game schedule, we've seen Michigan, like think about when Chase Winovich and those guys were on the revenge tour, where they get on this roll for 6-7 weeks and they look like the best team in the country. Yeah. So, barring any major injuries, if they can play all these games and just keep clicking, keep building confidence, Joe Milton keeps getting reps. I mean, by December 12th, there will be a ton of snow in Columbus, but who knows? Maybe they pull an upset. But I think you're right. The hot team's going to be the favorite.
Yeah. So let's go back a few days and talk about what we saw in the first Michigan versus Minnesota game when that team was really hot. Matt, I mean, we've talked about it a little bit here. Holy shit, this team looked lights out different than they have in the past years. It was not what I was expecting. I don't think any of these other guys expected Michigan to look that good. We were pumped to see Joe Milton, but we're nervous about the defensive secondary, nervous about the O-line. and none of that really mattered. What did you see over there from North Carolina?
I mean, basically everything you just said. I think, the one thing, I know we've interacted on Twitter a few times about Ed Warner. I know the offensive line lost 4 starters. That's huge. You can't discount that at all. But it just proves how good of a coach Ed Warner is. I mean, I know it's one game. I'm going to say this a ton of times, even with Joe Milton and the defense and everything. It's one game. But that offensive line, I mean, they looked like they were midseason form. So, that was awesome to see. Opening up holes. I mean, Charbonnet on that first touchdown run, I mean, it was hole looked like, I mean, something that you could drive a semi-truck through or whatever, something like that. But the biggest thing to me, Joe Milton, great. Front 7, Cam McGrone, Barrett, all these dudes, amazing. I love seeing them get guys on the field like an AJ Henning, like Blake Corum getting the first offensive play of the season.
Who would have guessed that?
Right. Actually, I saw how crazy these random stats. I don't know. I mean, it's people who I know people I work with who dig this stuff up. I saw someone dig the last time a true freshman got the first offensive yards for Michigan was 2008, Martavius Odoms.
I think that was Spath.
Yeah. I mean, that never happens. You saw that too. Yeah. But no, so what I love seeing is getting these true freshmen, Roman Wilson on the field, Blake Corum, AJ Henning. And, you see these guys who are clear difference makers. They've got that speed and space. They've got this playmaking ability. They can make guys miss one-on-one. I don't care if they're true freshmen and they were just playing in high school last year. I don't care. Get them on the field, and Josh Gaddis is getting them the ball. Don't just put them on the field and, they're like a decoy. Blake Corum's legit. I don't care if he's only 18 years old. Get him the ball, make him miss someone, and he's going to gain 40 yards. That's what I'd like to see. Joe Milton was amazing. I knew it was going to happen. But get these guys get these guys on the field that are fast, and they're going to make guys miss, and hopefully against Ohio State put up some points.
So, Matt, I've got a question for you. We've talked about it multiple times on the podcast, but we've talked about teams like Alabama, teams like Clemson. They've got a number 1 guy at running back. Michigan has 4 guys they put in last week that just seem to dominate. Would you rather see a number 1 guy out of that group or have 4 guys that can kind of just go after it?
Yeah. We've talked about this a lot too. And I talk about it a lot with my friends. I read an article today that Nick Baumgartner wrote for The Athletic, and he was talking about Josh Gaddis was talking about having multiple guys. He's going to spread the ball around, whether it was receiver or running back. He's going to give, if Charbonnet gets 2 carries and then doesn't touch the field for 2 drives, so be it. Josh Gaddis wants to play the hot hand, and, he sees all that talent. So I'm going to trust Josh Gaddis when it comes down to it. But personally, we talked about it before we started recording. I grew up through the 90s where it was Biaka Batuka getting all the carries, where it was Tyrone Wheat, where it was Chris Perry getting 53 carries against Michigan State, where it was all you have is Mike Hart over Jake Long, Mike Hart over Jake Long, over and over. And that's so personally, that's what I want to see. If Charbonnet's rolling, I want to see him get 25 carries. But, because I feel like, I don't know, you guys probably all played sports at some point. It is kind of tough sometimes to get a carry here, there, or if you play basketball, to get a little stretch. And then you sit on the sidelines for a while, and then you got to go back out there and try and get warmed up again. That's the one thing that kind of bothers me. But I guess that's part of the, stay ready. If you're going to get your number called at some point. So I don't know if that answers your question. Personally, I'd rather see a bell cow back, but I'm going to trust Josh Gaddis. He's the guy.
Yeah, and I think Justin, you had the same point previously, where it's hard to get hot, like you said, Matt. Let's say you're playing basketball, you get a couple shots up, and then they pull you. It's hard to get that rhythm rolling and be able to put up the yards and put up the points and put up the stats that you want to. But I mean, personally, if they play the way they did last week with that kind of setup, I'm all for it. But you tugged on my heartstrings with Chris Perry there, man. That's my favorite Michigan running back of all time. I was looking at Sports Illustrated posters, and there was one with Chris Perry with the Rose Bowl jersey on it, and it was a nice little poster I could get. I was like, I think I'm gonna get it. But man, that was my favorite era of Michigan football. John Navarre, Chris Perry, all those guys. I mean, so fun to watch. But I like that. I would love to see a number 1 guy.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my take, was I'd rather see a bell cow guy than a running back by committee. But Josh Gaddis kind of proved me wrong on Saturday night because he made every single one of those guys valuable and made Minnesota hurt with all 4 of them. So it's hard to argue against that. With that being said, throughout the course of a season, and I know it's short this year, but even throughout the course of all those guys' 4 years at Michigan, how do you keep them all happy with the number of carries, in a world where they're all those are all, probably NFL prospects. I know Zach Charbonnet is, I know Blake Corum is, maybe Chris Evans might not be. I don't know. Who knows? But how do you keep all those guys happy throughout an entire season and throughout their career at Michigan?
Yeah, I was going to ask you guys that too. Like, if we were talking about this, do you think it's a recruiting tool that schools use against Michigan? Like, you wonder about, like, with Najee Harris, if Saban or, if some of those guys said that to Najee Harris, like, hey, look what Michigan's doing right now. Like, they kind of go more running back by committee. Yes, come to Alabama, you might have to wait a year or two. But once you get to that spot, you're the guy. I mean, you're the guy. So, I don't know. Like you guys said, if whatever works, if they're winning games, I don't care if Charbonnet gets 1 carry for 70 yards and a touchdown and doesn't do anything else. I'm fine with that.
And I'm glad you guys brought that up. So what I brought up last time or 2 weeks ago on the podcast is with this new transfer rule, I wonder if it's something as far as getting all these guys playing time to keep them happy and keep them in the program so they don't leave. But like you said, Matt, obviously there's talent with these freshman guys, Corum, Henning, Roman Wilson. If I'm forgetting anybody else, I'm sorry, but
there's like
they showed obvious talent week 1 against Minnesota as freshmen. So do you think it's more so maybe that transfer rule, or they're just so talented that Josh Gaddis is like, I don't care if you're a freshman or, you just stepped on campus last week, whatever it is, you're talented, I'm putting you on the field?
I mean, it's probably both. They're probably seeing that a bunch of dudes are transferring. Like, Penn State's already had a few guys enter the transfer portal and stuff. So, I mean, I'm sure it's both. I hope that it's just Harbaugh and Gaddis sitting there saying, we can't leave these talented guys on the bench. I mean, yeah, we're winning 9-10 games, but we can't beat Ohio State, and we're watching Ohio State zip up and down the field against us. We got a guy like AJ Henning or Roman Wilson over here who could actually, like, keep up with these guys, with their defenders. We got to get him on the field. I said the same thing last year with Dax Hill. I know he came in and he was probably like a little raw, but I was like, those first few games where he wasn't getting many snaps, I'm like, this dude, he's going to be like maybe a Heisman contender, by the time it comes around to it. Like,
wow.
Get him on the field. Like, put him on the field. I don't care, like, especially when you see teams just running these crossing routes and torching them. I'm like, Dax Hill's the best athlete on the team. I don't care if he's a true freshman. Put him out there, and, so hopefully Harbaugh and Gaddis are seeing that.
Yeah.
I can also see the whole rotating a bunch of people in settle down a little bit as the season goes on. Because think about it, after week 1, how many guys have you seen at each position? How many different formations does now every single team on the rest of Michigan's schedule have to prep for? So I think it was a little bit of a mind game, especially while Michigan was up and rolling, that they felt that they could do that. And now all of a sudden, Wisconsin in a few weeks, Indiana, even Ohio State's watching thinking, oh, shit, we've got to actually game plan for this Michigan offense, where nobody has really had to do much to game plan against Michigan's offense in the past. So I think there's a lot to say for that, and I can see that settling down a little bit. And now that some of these freshmen get their snaps, some of these guys, there will be some guys emerge a little bit that as some starters who get a better majority of the snaps, and it becomes a second tier of guys as well.
Yeah, I mean, part of it too might be, this year doesn't count against eligibility. So, I mean, you're not playing with that. A guy can only play 4 games, whatever that weird rule was. This year, no matter how many you play, are you drinking that M43?
I literally just saw that, and I was like, Ro's going to be hammered by the end of this episode.
That's good stuff. I saw that the other day down here at a beer store in Charlotte, and I was like,
oh shit.
I got to pick some of this up. Now you got distracted when I saw that M43.
Sorry. I'm drinking the M43 now, so my Sparty takes coming up here are extra hot.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that being said, we might as well get into Sparty. All right. So, do you want to talk about what happened with Michigan State versus Rutgers this past weekend? I mean, shit, even that was like one of the first games ever where I was laughing a lot. I will say that. But at some point, I was like even feeling a little bit bad for Michigan State. Like, holy shit. No, Matt's shaking his head. Absolutely not. It was like, that was bad football all around. 10 turnovers, I think, in the whole game. Dear God, what did we think about a little preview into what we might see this Saturday from Sparty on their end?
I mean, the only reason I shake my head is because, like you guys, we had to watch that 6 or 7 year stretch where Michigan was doing that against Michigan State. So I don't feel bad for Sparty at all, especially all the smack they talked with Mel Tucker coming in. But Mel Tucker, I mean, that was as like not of like the least ideal start for a head coach you could possibly have. He comes in late to the recruiting, cycle. COVID happens. He's already, D'Antonio left him an awful roster. And then his team in the first game turns the ball over 7 times. So, I mean, like, I really don't think that team that we saw against Rutgers is what they're going to be the rest of the year. I said this on our podcast the other day. I think playing Michigan after that Rutgers game is the best scenario for them because they can put Rutgers behind them, whatever. Throw that tape, bury it, whatever, and get up for Michigan. Because if they were playing Illinois or, something like that, it would kind of be like, God, here, like, how do we get up for Illinois or, whatever. There's no way you can't get up for this Michigan game. So it's like, you want to get over Rutgers, go out against Michigan, don't turn the ball over 7 times, and fight. And hell, maybe try and win a game because, if you want to like make a statement to your fan base, if you're Mel Tucker, don't go lose by 40 like D'Antonio was doing the last couple of years when he was there.
See, that scares me, man. You think Sparty's got a chance? I texted Justin earlier today, and I was like, hey, man, you want to go down to Detroit? Let's play some bets on Michigan to pound the Spartans. So that's the last thing I want to hear right now.
I mean, I'm not saying a chance. I definitely think Michigan's going to win. But, like, I'm just saying, like, if you want to sell to your team, like, let's fight. Let's put Rutgers behind us. Michigan's over here talking about Joe Milton's going to win the Heisman, and this is Harbaugh's best team and stuff like that. That's, I think Michigan's going to end up winning. But, they're going to put up a fight. We know Michigan State. They're going to put up a fight.
Right. Yeah, I don't think we can approach this game as if, they're going to have 7 more turnovers again, right? That's not the right attitude. We got to show up just like we're playing, D'Antonio's team from 2014. And then we can really, be blue by 90.
Yeah, and Justin, I think you quoted a tweet from Khalid Hill, right? Something about he's like you can't take these guys lightly, especially week 2 after coming off a big loss. I mean, they're going to come out ready. Like, this is their Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, especially for this season because it's already weird. Who knows? We're already seeing a game, Wisconsin and Nebraska, getting canceled. So who knows what's going to happen the rest of the season? If Michigan State can go out there and pull an upset against Michigan, and then who knows, say in 2 weeks the season's canceled or something, just absolutely ridiculous happens, they can hang their hat on this game right here. Like you said, it's their Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And I will say the start to Mark D'Antonio's reign was just focusing on Michigan. He hung his hat on only winning that Michigan game every year. And he rolled that into actually making them a top 15 program, and then a top 10 program, and then a top 5 program. So it starts with this, and Mel Tucker knows that. I'm sure, I don't know if Mark D'Antonio still calls into or still is around the program. Probably not. He probably got out of Dodge and said, I'm good. I did my job. I'm a legend here. But I'm sure Mel Tucker has, watched the tapes of exactly what D'Antonio did. And so you already know that this is the one game circled. And so if they're going to go 1-7, this is the one they want to win. And so they're going to come out with the with the floodgates open. So I do think there's not a damn team in the nation that would win with 7 turnovers. Clemson would never win. Clemson wouldn't beat Virginia. Clemson wouldn't beat Georgia Tech with 7 turnovers. So they didn't have a fighting chance. And for them to even get it within 11 points, I actually think is a decent. It means that they're a better football team than what showed on the scoreboard and what showed in that game. So I don't know if I see it being 25 points. But on the other hand, I've said this before too. Jim Harbaugh hasn't been able to beat Ohio State. So in order for him to appease this fan base and make sure that all of us can go talk shit to our Sparty friends at work and all the, students can talk shit to their friends at Michigan State, he has to win this game and he has to dominate it. So he knows that, and he's going to make an emphasis on that. And they're not going to let up. If the fourth quarter and it's 50-7, he's going to try and make it 7.
Oh, and there's already, things have already shifted a little bit as far as recruiting, like with Michigan and Michigan State. So, everything you said is spot on. If you want to make a statement against a first-year head coach, people are already questioning the program a little bit at Michigan State. Recruits are starting to pull away. Go out there and beat them 50-7, and you're just going to make a statement that we're clearly the better program in the state. I don't care if you have a new head coach that smokes cigars and wears a cool hat in practice. Like we're going to dominate this rivalry. So, yeah.
Bro, I was getting a little nervous there, man. I feel like you were giving Sparty some love for a second. I was not expecting that this episode.
See, I have to set them up a little bit, fluff them up a little bit before we just put the fucking hammer in them. Right? So I here's the thing. Michigan scored 49 points on Saturday, right? They left at least 14 on the board. There was the Ericall drop and we had a couple others. We missed 3 field goals.
3 field goals, yeah.
So there was the opportunity for Michigan to score 60 plus points. What do you think they're going to do on Saturday? I honestly think this could be a Rutgers 79-0 type game. Michigan State's not down to that talent level, but again, Jim Harbaugh is trying to send a message that he owns this state, and there is literally zero wiggle room in that statement. So he's coming out, especially in a game. Now it's at home. Let's be honest, guys. Watching that Michigan State game, did you see a single weapon on either side of the ball where you're like, I think they have a one-on-one mismatch versus Michigan?
I think I saw that Reed guy make a pretty nice catch in the end zone, but that was about it.
I think Michigan has an advantage at literally every position. And so this is the first time that Michigan's been able to say that for a long time. Even in the past couple of years, Michigan State has had some good players. They were just kind of in a weird spot with that program. For the first time, Michigan State is really down in the dumps, and Michigan is going to have a field day on Saturday. And I honestly think 25 is an easy bet. Minus 25 is fucking hammer that.
Dude, I was talking to my guy Larry Lage. Former Spartan. He was actually Sparty. He was the mascot when he was at Michigan State. Fun fact. But he told me, he was like, JD, you better be hammering that line. Michigan, he's like, they're going to score at least 30 plus. Like, win by at least 30 plus against
Now,
Spartans.
here's the thought. I want to just throw this out there and see what you guys think. So, let's say we're up by 30 at halftime, right? Very comfortable lead. How would you feel if Cade McNamara came out in the second half? Let's get the, young guy a lot of reps in a rivalry setting. What would you guys say to that?
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Matt.
If they're up 30, I wouldn't be against it. But kind of to Justin's point, I don't think Harbaugh would do that. At least, like in that scenario, I think he'd at least give Milton the third quarter, get him up 40, 42, and then maybe bring McNamara in. But because I think I agree with you. I think he's out there. He's going to try and make a statement. Will he run it up 70-0 or, something like that? Maybe not that far, but I think he also understands that they're looking around Wisconsin's already got a game canceled. Penn State is probably going to start their season off 0-2. I mean, I think like everything is in front of Michigan right now to get on a roll like what we were talking about. And this might be the season that get on that roll and hopefully stay healthy and everything until that December 12th game. So I think Harbaugh is going into it saying we need to go out, get reps. We need to get Melton comfortable. We need to figure out some stuff with the running backs. We need to figure out like Ben Mason's role, all of that stuff. Like, so I don't think there's going to be any, if it's 63-3 in the fourth quarter, okay, maybe McNamara comes in there, like he did against Minnesota. But I think Gaddis and the whole staff, I think everyone's looking at it like we didn't really get like a preseason. We didn't get to start the season off with Middle Tennessee State. We got to figure this out. We're in the thick of a Big Ten schedule, so I'll be curious to see what they do.
See, Kalen, I hope they put Cade McNamara in at halftime, because then that gives me hope that Dan Villari comes in the fourth quarter, and that's who we all really want to see if we're gonna admit it. Come on now, fellas.
I mean, obviously, future second round draft pick. Yes, Dan Villari.
Hand gifted the number 4 by Nico Collins.
That's true.
Is he your guys' boy or something?
He's my
boy.
I'll send you the highlight, Matt. I'll send you the highlight. There's one reason why I love Dan Villari, and you're gonna hate me for it once I send it to you.
The most fire mixtape out there, bro.
And you're not talking about mixtape like a high school mixtape, like high school football mixtape. This is
even worse. It's like he's on a practice field. He's not even playing anybody. And to give you some perspective here, I thought Russell Bellamy was going to be the next great Michigan quarterback, if you remember him.
He was supposed to be.
He was four-star guy, dual threat, coming into Rich Rod or Brady Hoke system, whoever it was at the time. I thought he was solid, man. He had some good size on him, but not so much.
I did see it. Unfortunately, he did not make the travel roster. He did not dress for Michigan in game 1.
Oh gosh.
Probably he's just partying too much.
It's a good thing we're playing at home.
He's probably got too many girls around him.
Dude, he's a weirdo. He's from friggin' New York or New Jersey. Jim Tan Laundry. He's hitting up Necto. That's why I didn't make it. Too busy partying. I'm okay with that. Okay, that's my guy. Give him a couple years. All right.
Just
think
don't
he's gonna
COVID around the rest.
Stay at Necto. Don't go back home.
They should have like a COVID section, like where like there's like just a group of guys that can just go out but they stay in their like COVID dorm.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait for that line to be in the next Drake single or something, just chilling in the COVID section.
All right, here we go. PT Records making a comeback.
Love it.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say, coming back to some seriousness about Cade McNamara though, we saw Graham Mertz go out. I wouldn't mind seeing Cade McNamara get some real time because we're one positive test from seeing him as a starter. So if we are up big, as much as I would love to watch us put up 70 against MSU, I also, for the real strength of the program, we probably need to see Cade McNamara out there.
It's like the thing that nobody wants to talk about or think about, right? It's like, hey, we do have Joe Milton and all these great things, but what if he gets his bell rung in a play and we need to put Cade in and it's in a pressure situation, right? I want to be able to somewhat depend on my backup, right? We even were able to depend on Wilton Spate against Minnesota last time, right? Yeah. So, I would just want to have a little bit of comfortability with our young guys because as far as I know, those were the only reps he's had in that last Minnesota game.
Yeah, Matt, I don't know what you think about this, but I thought Cade looked solid out there. He looked poised. He wasn't in there for a lot of snaps, but he's another guy, 4-star guy out of his class. The top quarterback. Kalen, if he comes in at halftime and he can get solid reps, and we know what the coaching staff can kind of see what we'll get out of him if Milton does go down, knock on wood. But yeah, Matt, I don't know if you have any insight on that.
I think, I do agree. I guess I'm backtracking on what I said because, there would be value in getting him some snaps because, if Milton goes out for whatever reason, you want a guy with at least a little bit of experience. But, I'm sure you guys have read a lot of stuff too. Gaddis is and Harbaugh are glowing about McNamara, almost to the point I was reading some articles and I was like, is McNamara gonna start? Like,
Right.
like, so sounds like he's just blowing it up at practice. So right, yeah, get him some game reps, even if it's against Michigan State, you know.
Yeah, I think that I don't know. There's also value in beating the shit out of Michigan State as far as recruiting goes. I mean,
Yep.
quite honestly, right? Like, if you can own the state of Michigan and not lose a single recruit there, there's some value to that too. So, I can see Harbaugh going out there and saying, hey, we're going to pummel them into the ground and make sure everybody out there knows that the only program to go to in Michigan is Michigan. Nobody's even going to start considering Michigan State, and they're already struggling on the recruiting trail. So I bet you that's in the back of his mind too, and I can see it happening. So all right, well, I mean are there any concerns? Like I know obviously we've talked about Michigan pretty big in this game. Is there any place to concern that would like maybe you could see Michigan State making a run at this thing?
Turnovers, like we talked about Michigan State basically losing that game because they turned it over 7 times. I don't know, maybe a couple.
Are you concerned about the fumbles that we got back versus Minnesota?
I don't know. Like sometimes I just think that's like maybe some jitters. Like they were doing that stupid pooch kick, and I was like, stop trying to return this. I know Barrett had that awesome return. It was like, stop trying to just, when Corum fumbled that once, like call a fair catch and move on. I don't know. I'm not too concerned about that. But, like Milton at some point is going to show that he's human. So I just wonder if like he's going to miss a couple throws and maybe that like gets Michigan State fired up or something like that. But otherwise, athleticism and talent should overshadow basically everything Michigan State does. But that being said, we shouldn't take them lightly.
I haven't checked any of the scouting reports or anything like that. Does anybody know if there's anyone sitting out due to COVID or due to any issues for this game?
For Michigan or State or both?
On either side.
I've heard nothing so far.
Mm-mm.
Me neither.
I think everybody's good to go. The one thing that I was going to say is a concern just for Michigan going forward, or not really a concern, but maybe a reason to halt slow down the hype on them. But Michigan had really, really good field position on nearly every single drive.
Yeah.
So you can't expect to start on the 50-yard line every time. So not that they move the ball easily anyways, but I do think that you can't expect that. And so I don't know. I think that we can't expect that they're going to score 60 points a game or even 49 or 40 points a game because they're going to have to move essentially twice as far every time if they want to score going forward if a team actually kicks deep on them.
No, yeah, that's a good point because I don't know what you guys were thinking, but I was blown away that Minnesota didn't at least have like some kid who just came in as a freshman.
A soccer kid. Literally any of us could have kicked it farther than that. My God.
Yeah. So I hadn't thought about that before. That most other teams are going to have a competent kicker. So Michigan's going to have to be having 75, 85-yard drives to score. So that's a good point. But hopefully that's where the play calling and stuff like that will come into play. And hopefully Moody or Nordine actually remembers how to make a kick because that's going to be big at some point.
Yeah, it sounds like Nordine will be healthy this week, and it sounds like I'd assume he'd have to be the number one guy after Moody had a bad game last week. But I don't know. Before the season, Moody was my guy, but man, he had a rough game.
Yeah.
He wasn't even close.
Wasn't even close.
Yeah. Yeah, Nordine usually had been like the deep kicker, I guess, like basically anything like 40 yards plus.
Right.
So if maybe Moody just really doesn't have that big of a leg. But, I mean, he was missing, and he missed.
I don't know, man. Yeah.
But I was saying one thing that I was pleased with, and I'm sure you guys were, everyone was, were the corners. Because the corners for Michigan were definitely a question mark coming in, and seeing them perform against Bateman. And, Bateman had a bunch of catches, but most of them were against, like, quick slants and bubbles and stuff like that. So seeing Gray and Green out there perform, that was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, we talked about that last week. I think Justin brought up that Bateman had, 9 or 10 receptions for over 100 yards, but it didn't really feel like he had that big of a game. And I feel like Jamon Green had a great game. I did not expect him to play that well at all. And that was really encouraging to see out of the secondary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've said this a couple times, but the ceiling for this defense is how well that defensive secondary plays.
Yeah.
And so if Jamon Green all of a sudden can catch up really quickly and be an elite defender, or be an elite corner, and same with Vincent Gray, I think that means this secondary is all of a sudden really good, and this defense is all of a sudden really good. I don't expect that to be a thing. But the defense, listen, we saw about it. You've seen it in the SEC, Matt. It's about scoring points right now. It's okay now to win a game 55-51. All of a sudden that's acceptable. Whereas in the past few years, it was like, oh, they only do that in the Big 12. If you want to play real football, you win a game 13-10, like we do in the SEC and the Big 10. And so now all of a sudden you got to score points, and Michigan seems to be able to do that, which is pretty fun. Let's go around the rest of the Big 10. Was there anybody else around the Big 10? Indiana and Penn State had a fun game. Obviously Wisconsin looked good, but we know the situation with them. Ohio State kind of hung around with Nebraska for a little bit in the first half and then pulled away. Was there anyone else? Was there anything that stood out to you in the Big Ten where you're like, oh, my power rankings are changed, or you think that things could end up differently on Michigan's schedule going forward?
I don't think so. I mean, I think Penn State was overrated to begin with. So, maybe it was a little bit of a surprise to them, or for them to lose Indiana, but I think they were overranked anyway. And I just love to see that, because I can't stand James Franklin and how people act like he's a better coach than Harbaugh. So I love seeing him blow a game. But otherwise, I think everything was as expected. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think great for Indiana to beat Penn State, because I know personally, I'm always nervous when Michigan plays Indiana. It's always a tough game. I feel like they're always kind of like the underdog going into the game, but coming off the big victory in game 1, I think people will kind of prepare for Indiana like one of those middle to top tier Big Ten teams, and maybe take a little bit more seriously, where it's not as much of a surprise. But I mean, you got to look at Northwestern, right? They beat Maryland 49-3. That was very surprising.
Peyton Ramsey,
Indiana transfer.
That's true, because they usually don't have like a super explosive offense. So that's true.
Yeah, I didn't really feel like there are any real surprises. I mean, what, Jack? I think had the TV on like Purdue coming back and winning, and I mean that was just like, oh, okay, great. Like, but I mean, other than that, I mean, the only real surprise to me was the fact that Rutgers beat MSU.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've gone over pretty much everything we need to here around the Big Ten, and looking back on Minnesota, looking forward to Michigan State. Let's go to our 0-9. Matt, you're a recurring listener, right? You listen to what we've got going on here. You know about our 0-90s.
I've checked in a few things, so I know the gist of the 0-90.
Okay, good.
All
right. So
once a few beers have been flowing, you can kind of let it go.
That's right.
Exactly. Sometimes I get a few too many M43s deep, and then the 0-90 really takes a tumble. But it's all right. It comes out good. So, all right. Well, do you want to go first or do you want to go last?
Best for last, man. We gotta save the guest for last.
Save it for last. All right, Jack, you want to go first?
I can do that.
All right, here we go. Rivalry week version. Oh baby, we're ready. Rivalry week version of 0-90. Jack, your 0-90 starts now.
What I love about this week, I live in a house divided. My wife is a Sparty fan, went to MSU, got her graduate degree from there. I grew up in Ann Arbor. We're going to talk about Such an anticlimactic moment. But anyway, talk to my boy Larry Lage, avid Spartan fan, writer for the AP, former Sparty himself. He told me, bet the points for Michigan. I'm going to say Michigan by 35, putting the money on it, taking the over. Let's make some money this weekend, boys.
Woo! I like that. I like that a lot. I like that. I like that you're just from Ann Arbor. I like
I should have added I played sports in Ann Arbor in college, but didn't specify. I can cut that out.
No.
You know, I had in my Twitter bio for a long time. It was I played football at a university in Ann Arbor, not Michigan, but yeah.
It wasn't a lie. It wasn't a
not
lie.
a lie. Very truthful. All right, I love that. I mean, you guys are gonna be over. We're gonna just give Heather shit. You know, I mean, come on. She's not gonna stand a chance on Saturday.
No chance.
So, all right, Kaylin, you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, Kaylin, your rivalry week version of 0 to 90 starts now.
All right. I grew up in Ann Arbor, right down the street from the big house.
Ooh.
There's one thing that I grew up knowing. It was that we need to beat Ohio State. But the second thing that I grew up knowing was that you always got to give an extra little punch in the gut to your little brother when you're making a statement. And that statement is Michigan 90, MSU 0.
Hell yeah.
That's probably not going to be the real score. My real 0 to 90 would be Joe Milton throws for minimum 300 yards for his little brother.
It's going to be a beautiful day on Saturday, boys. 50
Right.
degrees and sunny. I think 300 yards is very.
Sling it. Let's let Joe's arm go.
I love the little brother comment. I missed out on that one. So I appreciate that.
I like
gotta
that
bring
a
this
lot.
From Ann Arbor. It's okay.
Did you guys get as excited as I did the first time Milton threw a deep ball on Saturday?
Oh my
yes.
God. I was like, he's
So
letting it go. He's letting it go. And then it missed him by 15 yards. I was like, oh, it's so excited.
It almost went through the goalpost. He's going to get one of those. He's going to get one of those.
Yep.
And we're going to all just go ballistic.
Oh,
it's
God.
going to be
nuts,
incredible.
man.
All right, somebody get me here.
All right, Justin, you ready?
Somebody might have to cut me off here if I just keep going, honestly.
No, dude, you'll get me hyped. I'm ready. Go for hours. All right. Clear your throat. Justin, your 0 to 90 starts now.
All right, so I'm from Grand Rapids. And this is actually part of it because I grew up around Spartans all my life. Nearly every single one of my friends were Spartans. And for the majority of my life, from high school through college and beyond, I had to take it from them year after year. And they rubbed it in. Trust me, they rubbed it in as much as they could. Now is Michigan's time. Okay, they rubbed it in last year. Michigan ran it down Michigan State's throat, 44-10 last year. It's going to be a bigger margin this year. I guarantee you that. It was 34 last year. It's going higher this year, okay? Jim Harbaugh, like I've said earlier in this podcast, is going to step on their throats. And there's zero chance that Michigan State – I honestly think they score less than 7 points. This defense –
Wow.
Quiddipe, I've been watching the replay of 2018 where – Brian Lewerke had literally no chance to go anywhere, right? Because Chase Winovich, Devin Bush, and everyone else was flying after him. Don Brown's going to dial it up against Rocky Lombardi. He's going to have fucking no clue what's going on. His head's going to be turning around backwards by the end of the game. And they're not even going to give him a chance to throw. So I'm going to give them less than 7 points here this Saturday. And then Michigan is just going to let it fly. We're finally going to see Joe Milton, instead of the slants, the cross routes, and everything else, he's going to throw more than one deep ball, and they're going to put up more than 50 points.
Love it.
I
No
need
argument.
something more than that. Jesus Christ, guys. Put my heart and soul into that.
No,
I'm disappointed. Honestly, I was waiting for more hype than that.
You're disappointed.
They're gonna score at least 50 plus points. You've been hanging out with staff too much, man.
Shut the fuck up. I needed more M43.
We'll call you up for the late show to get the real perspective.
There we go.
Yeah.
Trust me, come Saturday, we'll do like a live show on Saturday, like at 11:45. You know, a couple Jello shots deep and many more. Yeah, we'll be having fun.
We'll have to get a couple shotgun videos to throw up for that one message we got the other day.
Oh yeah, we do need to do victory shotguns from now on. I think that's going to be a thing. I'm all for it too. I also we did get a text message for we didn't talk about this. Sorry Matt, we're prolonging your 0 to 90.
No, you're good.
Anticipate.
Is Harbaugh done with the khakis?
Man,
Are you talking?
he maybe.
I'm talking to all of you.
Dude, hey, you guys know this. I love the blue on blue. I
Yeah.
think Michigan football unis should go blue on blue. Harbaugh, my guy looked fresh
You look
last
fresh.
Saturday. He went blue on blue with the Lulu boy and the boots.
Yeah.
Probably
The
some
boots.
Red Wing boots too. My guy was killing it. I
He
love
had
it.
the combat boots on.
They were definitely Red Wing boots. I saw he did an interview with Brad Galley, I think is his name. He works for WXYZ down there. And he asked him about that. And Harbaugh basically said, like, you know, you got to keep it fresh, or, you know, you got to change up.
Yeah.
You know, a classic, the most awkward question or
Oh,
answer.
of course.
But, yeah.
I liked
so-
it. And he had like the tinted, he's got, what were those, the transition glasses on or
Yeah.
something? He was crushing it, man. I loved it.
Just
It's
pure
so
dad
funny.
energy.
It's so funny because this guy was like the jock, the like, you know, the cool guy his whole life. And so quickly he has transitioned into this dad who gives zero fucks and is going to wear whatever's comfortable, whatever works. Like, you know,
Yeah.
he was
I
the
love
one,
it.
he was the guy on Saved by the Bell. He was the guy, like, even at San Francisco, he was a cool guy, always had, you know, Sharpie, sweater. Even coming to Michigan right away, he did the same thing. And it hasn't taken long. He's glasses with transition, gigantic boots, just wearing whatever is comfortable. Oh man, are we fans of this Harbaugh? Or are we trying to get back to a little bit of a fiery Harbaugh?
I mean, I want to see fiery Harbaugh with this new swagger he's got, man.
Swagger.
Dude, I'm expecting him to be throwing his hat and freaking just going nuts with this new swagger he's got. I mean, I love the blue on blue. I'm just going to say it again. I love the blue on blue. I love the boots. I think it's a whole new style for Harbaugh. And hopefully it brings that fire back that we saw from 2015, 2016.
Yeah. I think we saw sorry to cut you off. I think we saw the tweet from James Harbaugh who just said,
That was
my
great.
dad is on a fashion journey.
Fashion journey. Let's go.
That was great. No, the blue on blue. That was the one good thing that Adidas did was when they did the blue on blue.
Yes.
I hope Jordan they bring those back.
Dude, yes. And Jordan would kill it.
Yeah.
They would kill it. If Adidas can do it, Jumpman can do it.
Yep.
True. Also, if you don't follow James Harbaugh's kid, he's a great follow on Twitter. He's
Yeah.
super funny about his dad. All right, Matt, we've made you wait long enough here. We went on like an entire different segment before we could let you do this. All right.
Talk about Harbaugh's pants all day.
All right, here we go. Matt, your 0 to 90 starts now.
All right, guys. I'm from Corona, Michigan. Up there by East Lansing. So like you, Justin, I grew up with Spartan fans all around me. A lot of my friends went to Michigan State, so I was in East Lansing partying a lot on the weekends in college. But my thing, my 0 to 90, is Michigan State fans. And what I cannot stand about them, all the way from down when I was 5 years old in elementary school, was how they hedge their bets so much. When Michigan State's good, they're all in on Michigan State football. But right now, I'm already seeing, I have some coworkers who are Michigan State grads. They're already moving on to Izzo and the basketball team. They're already talking about these new uniforms that Michigan State basketball has. And I've seen some of them even punting on Mel Tucker already, saying that they shouldn't have paid him this much money. And they're already saying, this season doesn't matter. 2020 is a wash. This is just basically a bunch of scrimmages. Mike Valenti is on the radio saying these are just glorified scrimmages and all that stuff. And I'm sitting here saying, if Michigan State goes in and somehow pulls an upset against Michigan, they're going to be yapping over and over about how overrated Michigan is. Harbaugh can't win any games, and Michigan State has this rivalry. D'Antonio turned things around. That's what I can't stand. Michigan State fans, Ohio State fans, whatever. They kind of earn the arrogance. We haven't beat them in 30 years or whatever it is. Michigan State fans, go back to your place. I hope we beat them by 70. Go back to your place. Punch him in the gut, little brother. Mike Hart, come back, call him little brother again, put him in your place, and then you can go on to basketball season.
Man, I love that you said that. Because Ohio State, you're right. They have earned their arrogance. And that's where I personally respect the Ohio State program. I love a lot of the things that they do. But I hate Michigan State. Yeah. They have not earned shit. They suck at everything. And Michigan's about to blow their fucking gasket this weekend. Let's go.
I've gotten in so many face-to-face. I mean, a lot in East Lansing, after a few M43s. A lot in East Lansing. On Twitter and just all the time questioning when they make Mark D'Antonio out to be freaking Joe Paterno or like the best coach in college football. And I'm like, look at these records. The only time D'Antonio was good was through the Rich Rod and Hoke era.
Love that Scott Bell tweet that you talked about.
Yeah, and then with Harbaugh, he was basically like a mediocre coach, and they just can't handle it. So, oh man.
I can feel it coming out of him.
I know. I like that. That got me fired up.
I love it. I mean, you're not that okay. You put that out today on the 3 Point Pod Instagram, right? And it was a Scott Bell tweet, but it's so correct, right? If Michigan doesn't have Rich Rod and Brady Hoke go in the worst 7-8 years of Michigan football history, then Michigan State and Mark D'Antonio never get to the height that they were.
Yeah. I mean, it's
indisputable, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know that when Rich Rod came in, Michigan was trying to change things up and modernize or whatever. It clearly was a train wreck. But, I think D'Antonio, if they would have brought in a coach who would have kind of kept Lloyd Carr's program going, maybe even Hoke at that time, maybe Hoke would have at least kept things going a little bit. And Hoke was not ready to be a head coach. But, I don't think D'Antonio would have made that run. I really don't.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that. I mean, I'm all for the MSU slander. I've also gotten in plenty of I've lost a few friends over the Michigan State rivalry. I feel like we can all kind of say that. It's to that point. It's that personal for a lot of people in this state of Michigan. So I'm looking forward to Saturday. You know what? This is one of those weeks where there were so many weeks for the past 10, 12 years where I was dreading this day, honestly, where it was like, all right, shit, I know what's going to happen. We were the ones hoping to pull the upset. Yeah. Now it's like, all right, I can't wait for this day because it's going to be an unbelievable day and there ain't a chance that it's going to go wrong for us. So I imagine it's going to go the same way this year. Can't wait for Saturday. Anything else from you guys before we take off here? Matt, plug your podcast one more time.
Yeah, so 3 Point Podcast, again, we've talked about it a little bit. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere at 3 Point Pod. If you want to get some good generational discussions from a 63-year-old, a 35-year-old, and a 21-year-old, come there and you'll hear some pretty ridiculous takes, but some good discussions too.
And you're Burnsy, what is it, Burnsy 811 or something?
Oh, I'm Burnsy 381. That's
381. That was pretty close.
Pretty close.
All right. Burnsy381 on Twitter. So go follow him there as well. Thank you, Matt, for coming on. We appreciate you here coming on during Rivalry Week. This is a fun week for us. So obviously, we can't wait for Saturday to come and to tailgate a little bit and watch the maize and blue crush the green and white. So thank you guys for listening. You can follow us at Blue by 90 on Twitter and Instagram, at Blue by 90 Pod on YouTube, and at Blue by 90 on Facebook as well. So give us a follow, give us a like and subscribe on wherever you get your podcasts as well. Other than that, we will see you guys next week. Go Blue.
Go Blue.
Go.